Hi, I'm going to show you how you can use Photoshop to create thumbnails from your larger images when you want to make galleries, but I'm going to show you how to do it in batches so that it's more time efficient. Okay, so I have this folder that I've created that's called Galleries, and inside of it I have two separate galleries. One is called Animals and one is called Fruit. You can organize these things a little differently if you wish, but for the purposes of the tutorial, go ahead and follow it so you understand exactly what's going on. If I look inside of Animals and I look inside of Fruit, I've created two folders. One is called Large and one is called Thumbs, and that's consistent. And you want to keep the naming conventions consistent between different galleries. So Large and Thumbs under Animals is going to be the same as Large and Thumbs under Fruit. And if there were more, it would be the same, like if there were other galleries. So let's start first by using Animals as the example, and then we can apply it later to the Fruit category. So if we look under Large, these are the pictures that we currently have, okay? And so they're kind of big pictures, as the Large title indicates. And then under Thumbs, we don't have anything right just yet, okay? So what we want to do, and then also under Fruit, we have some other pictures that are kind of big, okay? So what I want to show you is how you can just create something, an action in Photoshop that will be applied as a batch to all of your pictures so that it'll do everything for you. You don't have to do them one by one manually. Alright, so in Large, you probably can't really tell from the thumbnails, but this bunny picture is the smallest one I have. And you'll notice that the size ratios are not all the same, but in terms of wanting to have thumbnails, I'm probably going to want my thumbnails to kind of be consistently the same sizes. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just do a square ratio. I prefer square ratio thumbnails. Some people like to get full thumbnails and keep the aspect ratio the same and everything, but what I'm going to be showing you is how to do it as a 1-to-1 ratio so that things are square. So if you look at this, you'll see that bunny is the smallest one. Well, I'm going to go based off of bunny, and the reason is because it's the smallest, and as a result of it being the smallest, it's going to allow me to center things properly so that the larger ones will take the thumbnail correctly. Otherwise, if we start with the larger ones, sometimes it'll chop things off on the smaller pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and take bunny and drop it into Photoshop. And so what I want to show you first is we've got this picture, and if you need to also originally to go back and look, you might want to make sure that your file size is in fact a reasonable size. And if this resolution is higher than 72, don't worry about it, because when we do, well, I should say, don't worry about it for the thumbnails, because when we do save for web, it's going to automatically transition that into a 72 ppi image file. But if it's like 300 or 150 or something like that for the large picture, then you do want to modify that so that the resolution is 72. But after I show you how to do this batch, you'll see very simply how you could create a second batch to make sure that all the large pictures are in fact a resolution of 72. So and I'm not going to change them all now because mine are already at 72 ppi. Now, first thing that I want to show you is this Actions palette. If you haven't ever used the Actions palette, it's got this play button symbol here. If it's not loaded up somewhere in your dock, you can always go up to Window and choose Actions. Okay, and by default, it's going to show you the default actions, and you can collapse that. And what I'm going to suggest that you do is create a new folder of actions and a new set, and I'm going to click this folder button, and I'm going to just give it a name like let's call it image resizing or something like that. And you can call it your name or something like that if you're in a public place. Alright, and so next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a new action. It's this little page icon, and we're going to call it thumbs. Okay? And you can also give it like a special function key or whatever, but I'm just going to hit record. And now you see this little red record button. So now at this point it's recording everything that I do. And a lot of times actually before I start recording an action, what I'll do is I'll test it on one thing before I record the action. And make sure that it does what I expect it to do so that I don't end up recording a bunch of accidents into my action that I have to undo. But I've already tested it, so we're going to just walk through this. So I'm recording, and what I want to do first is I want to go ahead and size the picture down to the size that I'd like my standard thumbnails to be. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to choose the smallest image. Is it's only part of the reason. So you want to go to image, and then you want to go to image size, and because all of mine are horizontally oriented, I'm going to make the height the standard size, because it's going to be a lot easier than to create what is going to be more like a centered image. So let's say that if you wanted your thumbnails to be 100 by 100, we're going to start with our height at 100, and then don't worry about the width for right now. Okay, we'll deal with that in a minute. But you want to go ahead and set your height if you have horizontally like landscaped images, then you want to set the height. Okay, and so I'll do this, and the vice versa would be true if you had vertical images. All right, so there's that. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to go over to my crop tool. And by the way, at no point should you ever hit the save button, because you'll end up overwriting your original file. So don't do that, okay? That's not the goal here. So now that we've got the crop tool selected, you see, don't try to just manually drag it. What you want to do is come up here and say, choose 1:1 square ratio, and it automatically will pick it for you from the center, hit enter, and it's cropped it for you. And at this point, what you want to do is go to File, Save for Web. Don't do Save, Save for Web. And it's going to pull up the optimization menu here. And just pick a JPEG and go ahead and save it out the highest quality since it's only a very small picture. And you're going to click on Save. It'll ask you where to save it. And you want to make sure that you're saving it where it says Animals. Make sure you're saving it into the Thumbs folder. Okay, and do not change this name. Leave the name as it is, because the action will then, for all the other pictures, if you just leave it the way it is, it will automatically take the current file's existing name. If you change it, it's going to try to write all of those files as that name. So just leave the name alone. Okay, and now you've exported it, and now you want to go ahead, don't save this file, just close it. It's going to ask you if you want to save it. Say don't save, because you don't want to overwrite the original larger file, and you're done. And so you want to stop your recording, and it shows you here in your actions all of the things that it did, which is nice. Okay, including like the export information, which we can go back later and muck with. Okay, so for right now though, let's go ahead and just run the batch. Okay, so to run the batch, well, real quickly, if you want to see where, make sure that it saved properly, you can go and look inside your Thumbs folder, and there's your bunny picture, and it's little. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and run the batch in Photoshop now. Let's go to File, and then you're going to say Automate Batch. Okay, now you want to make sure that you're choosing the right set. It's the set that we created called image resizing, or whatever you called it. And then you want to make sure that you're choosing the correct action, and it's the action that we created called Thumbs. If you need to refer back to this, you can look here. Okay. Now it's going to say, what is the source? So what is the source of what you want to use as your batch material? So we're going to choose a folder, and we're going to make the source from animals large. So all of these large pictures are going to be the source files that are used to save out thumbs. Okay, and then because the way that we went ahead and set our action up, we don't have to choose a destination because the destination is saved into the action. So here we can just go ahead and click OK, and it's going to do it for all of those files. Okay, and then if you want to go ahead and look into your Finder window or your Windows Explorer window, now you see under Thumbs we've got, oops, that was a mistake. You see under Thumbs you've got your bunny, you've got your chameleon, your dog, another dog, and those are your little thumbnails, okay? And so that's a really simple way of creating thumbnails from your original files. Now you might be wondering about fruit, okay? Let's go ahead and look at how we're going to deal with that. What I can do at this point is let's go into Fruit Large, and I'm just going to take one of my fruit pictures and I'm going to drop it into Photoshop. And I could create something that's completely the same, but the other thing that I could do too is I'm going to make a copy of this thumbs action, and you can just drag it down into the little page icon and it creates a copy. And I'm actually just going to double click and rename it, so we'll call it thumbs, and then we'll name it fruit, something like that. And then if I want here, I'm going to name it thumbs animals. And the reason I'm doing this is because I actually saved, as part of the action, I saved the pathway that we were going to save it into. And I could have done this differently, but this is one of the ways that I think is really simple to do it when you've got large things. Typically they're going to go into one place. If you're doing lots and lots of galleries, you might want to do it a little differently, but anyway. So under Thumbs Fruit, it shows you all the stages. Well, it's the export stage where it actually goes and saves it into another location. So export, and I'm going to go ahead and remove close, and I'm just going to click the trash can, and I'm going to remove those two parts because I don't want to save the thumbnail into the folder that is in the animals. Because if you look here, just as a reminder, if you look in here, it's actually not going to show you. Let me see if I spread this thing open. Yeah, see, it'll tell you where it's going to save it, and it's going to save it into animals' thumbs, and we don't want that. So instead, we're going to look into Thumbs Fruit, and so that you don't have to walk through everything again, we can just use it up to the crop section. So I can just take Thumbs Fruit and I can hit this little play button, and automatically it does everything else for me. And at this point is when I can go ahead and I can start recording again. So I'll click on my recording button, and it's going to start recording and adding on to this action. So I'll do File, Save for Web. I'll save it out as a high resolution JPEG at 100%, and we're going to save it into where it says Fruit Thumbs, like that. And now we'll go ahead and close this. Don't save. And now we can stop the action. Okay, so now we've got our Thumbs Fruit batch that we can play as an automated batch. So if we go to File, Automate, Batch, we're going to make sure that we're using Thumbs Fruit. We're going to choose our destination folder. It's going to be a different one. It's a fruit one. And we're going to click OK. Oops. Make sure I pick the right folder. Sorry about that. We're going to choose Fruit Large. My bad. Sorry. And choose that, and then we're going to run it. It's going to do that to all my pictures. And now, when it's done, I can come and look and see what my thumbnails look like. And they all look okay to me. Alright, and so that's one of the ways that you can do this. Okay? I'm going to end this tutorial here.